You're watching Sitka Community TV. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see.
Assembly candidate quorum today. It has always been a dream of mine to be able to bring our candidates up to the front of this room in this way that we can kind of imagine what they will look like up here at our assembly table. So when working with Sarah, we're generally right during the pre-election voting, and so we aren't able to have it at the Centennial. And this year we just got in early enough, so we were able to do that. So it's great to have so many people here in the audience, and then also on Zoom we have some folks joining us, and on Facebook. And I have some updates just really quickly that I want to give. The Chamber is doing a ton of things. We have, I think we have 5 events in the next 7 days, which means our team is really working really hard to bring really great and valuable programming to our community and to our members. One of the really fun programs that started this summer is Sitka's Emerging Leaders, and the Emerging Leaders program is really geared towards the 21 to 40 age bracket. The community, there's new people in the workforce over these last few years, and there are folks that are just, I think we really need to just create community for them, bringing professional development opportunities, training, connection, and then so it was brought up by the board, and that program has seen huge success. It's one of our initiatives that we will be continuing to foster. And this week we have 2 programs on Thursday, which is tomorrow night from 5 to 7 at the Cold Water Bar and Grill, which is inside the Westmark Sitka Hotel. We are having Jonathan Christ Tompkins, who is our former House representative, and he was elected at 23. And so he has a really, I think it was 23, maybe even younger. He has a really incredible story, I think, to share, and how his career developed and how he navigated being a young professional in that career path. And so he's going to join us. He'll have a little bit of program, and then there's roundtable discussions and networking. I encourage you, if you have staff that fit in this, or if you fit into this group, to come and and get involved. The Holland America and Princess have offered us a lunch on the Crown Princess. And that is happening on Sunday, the 17th, from 12 to 2 o'clock. We'll be on board the ship. They'll sit us down at a really nice lunch, and we'll be able to have conversations around that industry, and I think opportunities for professional advancements in that area, as well as looking at what that economic impacts in our community. And we'll have folks both from Holland America Line, as well as Cruise Line International Association. Both Lainey Downs and Renee will be here in town. So that's really exciting. And fast forward 2 days, Southeast Conference kicks off. Southeast Conference is a organization that looks at economic development in our region, and they bring really important topics forward, and they will have 70 speakers over the course of 3 days. Really, really great content. Will be here at the Centennial Hall, and we will be hosting them for a community reception on Tuesday evening. There's an opportunity for chamber members to come to lunch on Wednesday, which would give you a chance. If you can't come for the whole conference, you can come for the Wednesday lunch. And so there's a registration, I believe it's $25, and you can register just for the lunch to come, or even just the banquet is another option. We're also encouraging our emerging leaders to sign up and attend the banquet or other things during Southeast Conference to kind of get that opportunity. I mean, you get to sit next to a mayor or someone that's running a company and a mover and shaker in our region, and what better way to really look at the careers and the opportunities we have in Southeast Alaska and then through that conference. And we'll have some local speakers up there as well. So we made an announcement earlier in the month that Laurie Boysa has taken a position over in Ketchikan. She'll be the tourism manager there. And so we are recruiting for that position. The position description is available on our website, as well as, we're really looking for getting applicants over the next few weeks, and then we'll look to hire in January. So we'll give them the offer, of course, but we'll bring that director on in January, so it gives them time for a proper transition, because it takes time when you're a professional to leave your role and move, and the holidays are right around the corner. So if you are interested in that and want to, or if you can share that out with someone that might be a good fit for this, there's also a little time if they need to relocate to our community. The other thing I want to highlight is our 8-week fall speaker series, which is going to be on select Wednesdays through the course of October, November, and December. We will have speakers from various different stakeholders and folks that have a part of our housing, and we will bring, we're bringing out information sharing as well as some potential solutions to housing. I think it really is. It's a community-wide issue, and we really want to, get a handle on where everybody's at, where the plans are, and where we can start to work on some solutions. And so that is also one of our chamber board's kind of focuses and initiatives this year, and so we look forward to that. So be looking for those announcements, and I'd love to see, maybe we have a participation prize for someone that goes to all 8 of them, right? But let's get that information and really kind of understand where we are with housing. We know it's an issue. Let's get a little deeper into that. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and she's going to give us an update on how you can vote, how you can be part of it, and yeah, what's happening on the ballot.
Okay, so the municipal election is fast approaching. It is Tuesday, October 3rd. There are a number of ways in which an eligible voter can vote, and those options are by mail. There's an application that needs to be filled out. We have that on our website. They can also contact our office or stop by our office, and we can get that application to folks. The application deadline for by mail is Tuesday, September 26th. Then the next option is early voting in person. We're excited to offer that this year. It'll be just like voting on election day. You'll be coming in, signing the register, you'll vote your ballot, and then stick it into our scanner. So that starts Monday, runs through October 2nd, weekdays, 8:30 to 4:30. And then another option available to voters is by fax or email. They can contact our office if they're interested in that option. If you're not feeling well or have a hard time getting to the polls, you can vote by personal rep. So basically someone's checking out a ballot for you, bringing it to you, having you vote it, and then they bring it back to the polling precinct for you. And then of course in person here at Harrigan Hall on election day. For early voting, the location will be on the opposite side of the building here, rooms 2 and 3, and folks can access those rooms right from the outside of the building. And then on election day, precinct 1 is room 5 and 6 here, and then rooms 1, 2, and 3 on the opposite side of the building for precinct 2. On our ballot this year, we have the assembly race and school board race, and then 2 propositions. For assembly, 3 to be elected: Timothy Pike, J.J. Carlson, Austin Wayne Cranford, Scott Saline. And then for school board, we have 3 to be elected. We have 1 candidate on the ballot, Tom Williams. We also have an official write-in candidate for school board, Steve Morse. And then proposition number 1 reads, shall the home rule charter of the city and borough of Sitka be amended to expand the persons eligible to hold the office of school board member to include municipal employees of the city and borough of Sitka? And proposition Proposition number 2, shall the Sitka General Code be amended to adopt a seasonal sales tax increase starting in 2024 of 1 additional percentage point from 5% to 6% from April 1 through September 30 of each year, and dedicate the revenue generated to fund either directly or by paying debt service on the maintenance, repair, replacement, and/or construction of school building infrastructure. So that's what we have on our ballot this year. So if folks have any questions, they can stop by our office. There's information on our website. I'll just throw our phone numbers out there, 747-1826 or 747-1811.
Great, thank you. It's so great that there are so many options for voting. I'd really like to see just a high turnout for voting. We definitely have some important things on the ballot this year. So thank you. Now you're off the hook. I'll talk a little bit about procedure for how we'll move forward. We'll handle the candidate forum as we had in the past. We did a blind draw just before we started, and so we will kick off our first question with JJ. There is the Q&As on the Zoom for the webinar folks that are joining us. We are not monitoring Facebook Live questions, so I think if you want to, if you're on Facebook Live and you want to ask some questions, shoot them over or join the Zoom call, and that would get us there. If you are in the audience and you'd like to submit a question, we have paper provided in the back of the room. If you could bring them up to Victoria, she's here taking a photo. Smile. It will be on Facebook. She is taking questions and she'll bring them up to me as we have time after we've answered our pre-written questions, which are also available on that back table. We will go over those, and then and our timekeeper, thank you, Holly. She is on our board of directors, and I think gets a participation award because she's at all of our functions. So thank you, Holly, for being such an active board member. She is timing, and she will put up a yellow paper when there's 30 seconds remaining, and a red one when your time is up. And so we'll try to keep to that so we can keep the forum going. And thank you, each of you, for being here. Appreciate you. So our first question is an opening statement, and we will start with you, JJ. And it will just go down the line to Scott and then to Austin. Who are you, and why do you think you are qualified to serve on the City and Borough of Sitka Assembly? What separates you from your opponents that makes you the best candidate?
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everyone for coming. It means a lot that the community supports us in seeking to represent you, and that you show up to events like this to be informed voters. So that's a big deal, and that's mainly one of the reasons why I want to represent this town, is because we care so much about each other and keeping this a great place to live, not only for ourselves, but for our next generations and anyone into the future. So JJ Carlson, am a Sitkan, born and raised here. I left for a while to pursue a career, and that ultimately brought me back to town because I learned that I can do a lot for people, but if it's not where my heart is, then what am I doing spending my time there? I made a lot of money for others, but now I'm here to serve and bring my skills back to this town that I just care so deeply about. And if I can do anything, through volunteering, through my work in the day, through being on the assembly and representing us, as a voice at the table, the assembly is not just one person, it's a representation of this town, and I just hope to be one of those voices representing this lovely place. So, thank you.
And to you, Scott, same question. Who are you, and why do you think you're qualified to serve on the City and Borough of Sitka Assembly? What separates you from your opponents that makes you the best candidate?
My name is Scott Saline, and I think I'm best qualified right now to serve because of my experience in the trades, being locked out socioeconomically of so many aspects of trying to live in Alaska for 43 years, and the main one is just now being able to open up a seafood restaurant against the restrictive Sitka comprehensive codes. And really now the confusion that people have of just saying energy and not differentiating between BTUs and amps. And so when city staff is constantly confusing the two and then spending as much time as they were going to be on item J that was pulled off of the assembly meeting last night, I've tried before to pump heat from the ocean into town and the trailer parks, particularly in the village where I live. It would be really easy to reduce the heating costs of all the illegally built vinyl houses that the BIA built, handed off to VHOP. And a lot of the access roads in the village are in a gray area because of a buildup of bureaucratic constant, and let alone the sidewalk being blocked off. There's just so much that could be done right now to help people by, and the main thing is why I'm on here is to talk the other assembly members into starting a letter that would go to all the other coastal communities to ask the Corps of Engineers to alleviate their requirement to trench in very simple, inexpensive, non-toxic ground source heat pumps. And so I like these guys trying to save town, but I just, 43 years of seeing the same stuff and living in the Sitka village, that's why I'm on here. And I don't want to be on here. I got enough problems, but staff is running away with itself, and we need to bring people back to how you can heat homes. Thank you.
Thank you. And to you, Austin, who are you? And why do you think you are qualified to serve on the City and Borough of Sitka Assembly? What separates you from your opponents that makes you the best candidate?
Hello, my name is Austin Cranford. I've been a resident of Sitka for about 9, almost 10 years now. Joined the military for one contract, came back, currently work for the University of Alaska as their technology person. And I think I'm qualified to run for assembly because we need new experiences, new ideas on the assembly. Currently, inflation is up. Wages are down, people are leaving town, people can't afford to live here anymore, and it doesn't seem like the Assembly is doing enough to resolve those issues. They just gave themselves a pay raise literally last night, and there's a proposition on the ballot to reinstate the 6% tax rate, and I don't think that's going to help this town get to where it needs to be, and I would like to see it get to where it was 9 years when I came here, and it was a great place to live. I'd like it to become a great place to live again. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next topic, we'll start with Scott, is on housing. The inadequate amount of housing available in Sitka continues to put stress on the community and makes hiring a major challenge for the business community. What steps do you believe the Assembly should take to address this issue?
Boy, I really, I don't have an answer to that. I know that if every restricted deed empty lot in the village would have been hooked up to Catlian, that there could be trailers on them now so that tribal citizens could at least rotate in and out on sovereign land. The trailer parks are affordable housing and always have been. So I really don't have an idea. I mean, I've got ideas, but I just don't, so sorry.
Well, that's what we're going to work on answering for sure. Same question to you, Austin. The inadequate amount of housing available in Sitka continues to put stress on the community and makes hiring a major challenge for the business community. What steps do you believe the Assembly should take to address this issue?
There's a couple of steps that the Assembly can take. The land is available. Example, Kramer Avenue was closed after the tragic 2015 landslide. Legislation was put in place to prevent development of that area back in 2015, but that legislation was removed in 2021. There are engineering aspects that we can use to stabilize the mountainsides and hillsides. We can do anchoring, we can do drainage systems. There's plenty of ways to mitigate landsliding so that we can allow Kramer Avenue and other areas that are prone to landslide risk to be open up for housing development, business development, whatever we want to do. If that doesn't work, we can also negotiate with current landowners about redeveloping already developed land. we can have more high-density housing in certain areas to allow people to stay here. Because currently, people that are working at our grocery stores, in our stores, they can't afford to live here. They can't afford to pay the $1,600, $2,000 rent on top of utilities. And yeah, that's going to become a problem because we're continuously losing our labor pool. We need people to work our jobs, and we're just going to end up in a downward spiral that we're unfortunately already kind of in. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. And to you, JJ, the inadequate amount of housing available in Sitka continues to put stress on the community and makes hiring a major challenge for the business community. What steps do you believe the Assembly should take to address this issue?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question here and for dedicating, chamber resources and time for having this be your lecture series for the fall topic, because, so many heads on a topic is the best way to go about it. So I think the Assembly's approach should be listening first to really gather what's going on with the community, and there's so many good ideas that can come from community involvement. And I care about this topic greatly. I'm coming from architecture, construction background. My day job now is in affordable housing. I've got some good eyes on this, but my eyes are just only one point of view. And there's many things. It's a complex problem, so it's going to be a complex solution. And as you note here with your kind of topics, they all kind of touch on itself. And if it's not housing, it's childcare and wages, and it's this one piece of an overall puzzle that, us being our town that's kind of contained in a way, we don't have the next town over that people can find housing there and drive to a job here. Like, Sitka's got to provide all of the aspects of what makes the community. And that's great in a way, because then the same people can hit the solution. And it's land, it's policy, it's support of the business, it's looking at a bunch of different aspects, and ultimately directing CBS departments to make this thing happen as seamless and with limited red tape.
Thank you, JJ. And I just realized that I didn't mention, we did invite Timothy Pike to the candidate forum today, but he was unable to make it, and he did let us know, so he wasn't a no-show. Our next topic is around workforce development, and we'll start with you, Austin. Sitka's working age population has decreased by 13% in the last 10 years. What role should the Assembly play to support our workforce and attract and retain working age individuals in Sitka?
Thank you for that question. So the workforce development question kind of touches on all the other topics. It touches on housing, childcare, wages. Ultimately, workforce development will fix itself if we can fix all the other issues. If we can build houses, if we can make sure wages can keep up with inflation, if we can make sure people can take their children to childcare or to school, then it's going to be a classic build it and they will come scenario. The issue is right now we're not developing the land that we have. We're not putting in the proper policies to allow young professional workers to stay in town. They have to move somewhere else because it's inaffordable to live here. That's the main issue with workforce development. If we can fix that issue, we can get the labor pool back in Sitka and we can solve that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to you, I have JJ, but yeah, no, that's right. No, it's Scott. We should have, I think I did out of order.
Childcare, is that how?
No, we're doing workforce. Scott, Sitka's working age population has decreased by 13% in the last 10 years. What role should the Assembly play to support our workforce and attract and retain working age individuals in Sitka?
Boy, I assembly's gonna make jobs. You know, I know maybe, you know, every time it costs another quarter to do dryer at you know, I mean, just the cost of living, and nobody can make more than 14 bucks an hour. It gets to about 15 bucks an hour, and that's just the way town is. It's a mill, you know, Silver Bay cycles them out, grocery stores cycle them out. It's that way everywhere in America. I don't know how you could, I don't know how the assembly could do it. I know the staff could stop rewriting the rules so that people trying to make money with a van or whatever, you know, for charters and taking advantage of everybody here, that a lot of people, 4 independent cabs down that I said are gonna quit just from stuff being rewritten. So that might have something to do with, you know, slight entrepreneurial stuff other than selling tamales or whatever.
Thank you. And JJ, Sitka's working age population has decreased by 13% in the last 10 years. What role should the assembly play to support our workforce and attract and retain working age individuals in Sitka?
Thank you. As a working age individual who did return, I'm trying to start a wave, and I will continue to encourage people to return or just to move here. But as an assembly member, policy is primarily the way that the assembly can look at this topic. And encouragement and support, just like with housing and childcare, is to create a vibrant community that people want to be here with. And we are seeing some people move here to then work remotely, and so we know that it's a vibrant place. It's just how do we get those people to really develop back into the economy here. And it's a lot of, if you provide childcare, then someone doesn't have to work just part-time, or they can go back out and get that full-time job. So really another testament to the holistic nature of this challenge and what makes the workforce in Sitka so, not precarious isn't the word, but in need of stability to really make all the aspects work for families to be secure and really able to give their time to jobs and this town.
Thank you. Our next topic is childcare, and this part of the reason this is on our questions is that when we did roundtables with all the industries last year, it was in every single industry. It didn't matter what industry you were in, you were facing this challenge, whether it was your family or your employees' families. And so childcare is one of the, and we're going to start with you, JJ. Childcare is one of the top workforce issues in our community, and as a result has caused families to relocate to remain out of the workforce. How do you see the Assembly participating in finding a solution to this crisis?
The lovely working group we have here had a summit last weekend, and participating in that was one thing that Assembly members can do to really kind of collect all the information needed to do better outreach and policy. And I was there listening and participating this past weekend to really be on the ground at the level with childcare workers and families to understand the challenges, and there are many. And as an Assembly member, it's not just what we can do in town, but how can we encourage the state to look at their policies, and how can we encourage the movement towards more flexible work hours so that full workforce can be developed here. It's not only people are leaving Sitka, they're also just like working part-time or relying on family. It's a big testament to the beauty of this community when neighbors and siblings and grandparents all come together to support ourselves so that we can be productive in this town. And there's policy as well as just writing incentives for people to look at what tax breaks or potential collaborations can be made to have childcare be a vital and apparent and career path, well earning wage career path in this town and statewide.
Great, thank you. To you, Scott. Childcare is one of the top workforce issues in our community, and as a result has caused families to relocate or remain out of the workforce. How do you see the Assembly participating in finding a solution to this crisis?
Again, I don't have a clue other than when Search took over our community hospital, I kind of thought that, that was going to be answered, and then now with Search getting rid of home health and everything, I kind of realized now that that was a joke for me to think that it was going to be an altruistic deal and answer the community's child care because they got so much free money and everything. So I really don't know how the Assembly could fix child care.
In Austin, childcare is one of the top workforce issues in our community, and as a result has caused families to relocate or remain out of the workforce. How do you see the Assembly participating in finding a solution to this crisis?
It ultimately comes down to a policy and funding issue. For example, Ms. Hay and Ms. Wild have been here in the Assembly before, as well as at multiple of the other committees. And I believe it was Ms. Hay. She says that she has the capacity to take on more kids. She simply does not have the staff to take on more kids. She can't afford to hire another person. Can the Assembly, can the city, we can subsidize childcare. If we need to, we can afford to hire 1 or 2 extra people in order to take care of another 20 or 40 extra kids. At the end of the day, we have childcare until they can get to the public school system. And the public school system educates the newer generation. We need to take care of our younger generation because those are the ones that we're going to rely on later in life and are the future of the country. So I don't think a little bit of money now from the city or from the state or even from the federal government towards our child care systems is going to harm us in the long run. I think it would be a net benefit overall.
Thank you. We do have one more kind of pre-written question. I've received one from online. If anyone in the room has one, you could write it down and then bring it to Victoria. She's up front here with the computer. The next question, we'll actually start here with Austin. Industry growth. So with the growth of 2 of our major industries, how do you feel the Assembly should be allocating the increased tax revenues seen in recent years to best support the community's needs?
Sure. First off, they should be using that money to fix the issues we currently have and maintain what we currently have. Any new projects, unless it's an emergency or it fixes one of our current issues, should be stopped. Like, we shouldn't be building all these new projects if it doesn't hit on housing, childcare, something to that effect. Our schools say that they need money to fix their buildings. The money should go towards the schools to fix the buildings. It should go towards our roads to fix our roads. It should not be going to whatever pet project the Assembly has decided they want to fund that year. It should actually go towards helping the community. Thank you.
And next to you, JJ, industry growth with growth of the 2 of our major industries. How do you feel the Assembly should be allocating the increased tax revenues seen in recent years to best support the community's needs?
Thank you, yeah. With the increase of the visitor industry and the healthcare industry, that extra sales tax primarily, some property tax, but mostly sales, should go to supporting what we typically support as sales tax revenue, and that's schools, infrastructure, and public safety. And continuing on with a pay-as-we-go system. A bit of background here. A lot of what we have in this town was built originally through collaboration with the state funding, and that revenue stream for continuing projects isn't there like it used to be in past decades. And we really need to, on our own, as grants, do our maintenance, our upkeep, our investments in our infrastructure ourselves. And tax revenue is our best and most solid, proven path for being able to maintain and keep up with our existing town in a health and safe way for our citizens.
And to you, Scott, with the growth of two of our major industries, how do you feel the Assembly should be allocating the increased tax revenues seen in recent years to best support the community's needs?
Well, pay the cops, teachers, and city workers more, issue them a 1099 check just for putting up with another year of waiting for getting proper representation against inflation.
Thank you. A question from our online audience. So looking at response to pandemic or an emergency, in the past, the Assembly voted for a COVID mask mindset. Will you, as an Assembly member, vote for along these lines, and what would be your reasons to or not, if we were asked again to determine whether or not we mask up? It's an interesting one, and so maybe something we haven't thought about in a little while. We will start this one with you, Scott.
I got it. Say that again.
So there was a vote to require masking during the heat of the pandemic to try to keep numbers down. And so in that same thread, I think the question is, would you vote to have something like a mask mandate if that was like for public health safety? How would you vote? Would you vote yes or would you vote no? And I think, it's. It was quite a challenge, I think, at this table to figure out what was best there.
I thought that they just said that the mask didn't do any good. I don't know. I mean, what happened to don't touch your eyes? I don't know. I'm not qualified to call on that until I had to make a vote, I guess. I know I tried to get a haircut before I came here, and the barber's sick. He's got me, and I thought, wow, the barber's more hazardous than being a bartender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it continues to be a challenge. Same question to you, Austin. How would you handle that?
If something like a mask mandate or something like that came to me, I would vote no on it. It's not the Assembly's job to tell the public what they should and shouldn't do. People have the logical faculties to decide, should I wear a mask, should I not wear a mask, should I wash my hands, should I not wash my hands? I mean, we make these decisions every day in our daily life. It's not the Assembly's job to go, oh, you must do this. I think people can figure it out on their own. Thank you.
And to you, JJ.
Thank you. Public health is a big concern and is part of public policy. As the daughter of two people with neurodegenerative conditions, they both are in that high-risk category, and that is the group that we in public policy are here to protect. You don't know where your breath's going. You don't know who else in the room, who else is in that classroom that could be more affected than yourself. And your liberties kind of end where the next person's begin. And I've been through that. I lived in Chicago during the pandemic, and just your bubble is very small when there's more people around. So in Sitka to feel different, but we're still part of this country and part of this place where we believe that everyone has a right to space. I've been that person on an airplane recently of maybe one other person had a mask, but that was because I was going to visit my parents. And there are people that are at risk. We all have to work together to protect. And that's my personal experience. And I would vote for a mask mandate because we have to work together to help everyone.
Well, I certainly hope that we're not in that situation in the future. Kind of a last call for questions. If we have any audience members, we do have a mic we could give to you if you want to come up and ask one. And if not, we will go to our closing statements. And so this one is a little bit shorter, but just, as this conversation has gone and as kind of you think about what your service will be. So a closing statement, and we'll start with you, Austin. And what would your service as an assembly member mean for the community?
Right, so my service would mean transparency, duty, common sense budgeting. A lot of the issues that we have now is the city did not look at what's going to happen 5-10 years from now. It's like, oh, we have $6 million today, let's spend $6 million. Well, then next year, there's a deficit of $2-3 million because it wasn't like, oh, well, what happens when the economy goes down? What happens when we hit that rut? It was one of those things where it was, the good times were always going to be here and nothing could stop it. And then when reality hit us in the face, we weren't ready for it. So my plan would be more transparency, budgeting, let the community police itself, and we'll work from there. Thank you.
And to you, JJ, what would your service as an assembly member mean for the community?
My goal with my service would be a welcomed, appreciated, just representative of this town, this voice. That my service would mean that some potentially voices that haven't been heard in the past or haven't been as represented would come to the table and would be given equal standing to the rest of the room. My service, and thank you for calling it service, because it is. It would be me as one of the many that come together to make good decisions for this town. And the community, we hope, would see that. Even if you don't identify with me directly, that you can see that there are people that I would represent well.
Great, thank you. And to you, Scott, what would your service as an assembly member mean to the community?
I'd stop adding to the hopelessness of the village and Kathleen Ann Street and show you how to get the sidewalk back on. Also, I'd like to bring forth an electric committee, and everybody that wants to talk about energy, I ask you to learn what the Howell Bunger valve is with our dam and start there at the very bottom and then work your way up, and you'll end up right down there, down at staff. And the city staff does what they want against a committee, like the planning committee and all of that, and even the historical preservation committee. But the electrical committee would be an educational aspect that would keep track of maintenance that gets lacking when you go through so many directors and everybody wants to have, I guess the terminology is, a sexy project instead of just taking care of brass tacks. And then that's why we end up with an infrastructure that we're dealing with now. And thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for your time and being here today. I just want to remind everyone of the few things that are coming up. Visit Sitka is actually, we're in the heat of our visitor guide for 2024. And by October 11th is the deadline for any updates. If you have a new business phone number or location or any of that, and then there is some opportunity to get to highlight your business. That we have some ad contracts in the back of the room as well as available at our office. Coming up tomorrow is the Emerging Leaders monthly meetup, and that has featuring Jonathan Christ Tompkins. It's at 5 o'clock at the Coldwater Bar and Grill in the Westmark. We have the Emerging Leaders sign up, which is actually the deadline for signing up is tomorrow, so we have to get all the details out to the ship. But we are going to have a group of about 40 of us go out and have lunch on board. So if you know an emerging leader, they don't have to be active in the business community, but that's what we're trying to do, is get them involved. And so we're really excited about that. And Southeast Conference's lunch next week on Wednesday. There is a sign up right. If you search for Southeast Conference, you can get right in and register for their annual meeting, and that lunch is $25, but you'll get to visit with everyone. So those are the things, yes, there's five events in 7 days. So definitely thank you all for being here, and we look forward to having more in person, and that's the other part of the housing 8-week series, is that it will be in person and we'll really be able to connect as a business community. So everybody get out and vote. Our early voting starts in person here next week, so get out here and make your decisions. Thank you, candidates, and hope you have a great week.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Chair.
You're watching Sitka Community TV. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see.